So today among us, we have Komaraiah sir. He is a senior professor at the Department of Economics, Faculty of Social Science, Banaras Hindu University. Uh, he has lots of experience working in different research projects in academia and also in teaching. He has worked in research project funded by incentive grant under IOE BHU Varanasi. Also, he has received financial grant for research, which is funded by UGC, then ICSSR, and many national and international organizations. So, welcome you to this certificate course. We are having participants from different institutions of India. We hope all our students and participants will benefit from your lecture. So, you can start now.
Thank you, madam. Thank you for your kind words. Uh, it is my privilege to be uh, in this program of certificate course. I would like to present on the topic economic wisdom of Indian knowledge systems and its significance in the current times. Uh, shall I share PPT or from your side it is sharing? Hello.
Yes, sir?
PPT I
Yes.
shared Jintu.
Yes, sir. I'm sharing, sir.
Okay.
You can start now, sir.
Okay. So this is the topic. Is it not uh, spread total screen? No. Okay. Anyway, I'm just starting. Uh, the topic on economic wisdom of Indian knowledge systems, and its significance in the current times. So this is important topic where how economic ancient wisdom is helping uh, in the present scenario of economic development. So when we look back to the Indian knowledge systems, so it is just offering the unique perspectives rooted in the ethical, sustainable, and self-sufficient principles. Normally, what we focus in IQAC, the ethical aspects and sustainability of development and self-sufficient principles are highly regarded in economic literature. So in ancient thought, particularly, it is meant for the balance between the wealth accumulation and social responsibility. Whosoever is trying to acquire knowledge, wealth, So according to their capabilities and investments, so those wealth is supposed to be acquired, but it is exclusively meant for the social responsibility. So these concepts, particularly from the IKS sources, are basically from Vedas, Upanishads, um, Ardhashastra guide, and other uh, all types of uh, written texts like epic scriptures are also there, Puranas, Sutras, and uh, Smritis, Jain texts, and philosophical texts, uh, Tantric, Tamil Sangam texts. So many sources are coming from the Indian knowledge systems, but these are all some of the uh, knowledges which are passing through generation to generation. So mostly the sources emphasize the principles like fair taxation, sustainable eh, wealth creation, ethical governance. Uh, Since all these are all related to economics, then um, one second. When these sources basically are aimed at for the fair taxation and sustainable wealth creation and ethical governance, because earlier foundations are based on these principles. So even ancient India is also very much structured as well as a prosperous economy with global connections also. Exports and imports were also uh, very much prevalent during those days also. So these whatever earlier traditions, even the 2000 or 2500 and even 5000 years ago, so what type of practices were there, even we can also closely connect with those present situations also. So how do we where which areas we have to connect with the present scenario? So basic sources of economic wisdom in IKS is, so these originates from the sacred texts and classical treatises, but Kautilya Arthashastra is the one of the important sources which deals exclusively with the governance, taxation, and security. There are seven areas which were listed in the functioning of the Kautilya Arthashastra. One is king himself is heading the entire state. He's the security supposed to be provided by the king, and the ministers are also there. These ministers must keep an eye whatever activities are taking place, and LS is also there, ear type for getting the proper information for all intelligence activities may be provided to the king, and Sena is also there. Then Kosha, treasury supposed to be maintained very properly, and all types of village ecosystem supposed to be improved. So in the Kautilya Arthashastra, there are different areas, 15 books written, and on different aspects or different subjects, so that people, those who are ruling the countries, they could get the lot of resources or lot of advice from them. Even so, this Kautilya's Arthashastra, lot of insights we are getting exclusively in the governance areas, taxation and trade things. And Manusmriti is also one of the important uh, te- texts which is giving or emphasizing on ethical and financial practices and social responsibilities as well as business ethics. And Rigveda and Upanishads are also emphasizing prosperity through righteous means. The, these sources shaped India's economic landscape and unique in inspiring modern technologies. So India is also ancient economic thoughts are also guided by the four Purusharthas. So these are all widely discussed. Dharma, it is a righteousness, and artha, it is related to wealth. Kama, it is related to desires, and moksha, it is related to liberation. So these four aspects are also emphasized in Indian knowledge systems. So wealth is considered as an essential component which make the stability in the society, but it has to be earned, advised ethically. So whatever ethical earnings are there, there is no harmful in the society. And redistribution of wealth through taxation and sustainable livelihoods were also emphasized in the Kautilya Arthashastra. And mostly the economy is functional and based on the trust and ethical trade and community welfare. The these aspects were uh, highly valuable during those days. Nowadays also we are, these ideas can be implemented effectively for the sustainable society. And when we talk about the concept of wealth and its prosperity in ancient India, so this artha is important. Wealth is important. Even Adam Smith also talked about the wealth or wealth of nations in his writings. Also, it is most important aspect. It will give the economic prosperity, which is linked to the ethical practices as well as the social well-being. So whatever money is earning, that must be ethically acquired, then only the society will be harmonious and sustainable. Likewise, dana, it is a charity. So wealth distribution is also taking place by ensuring economic balance. Charity is also helping some extent to be maintained in the balanced society. And business persons are expected to follow honesty and fairness in their transactions, because so business exploitation is also strictly supervised during those days. And accumulation of wealth was accepted in the society, but it must be beneficial to the society. Otherwise, exploitative practices may harm in the or create some tensions in the society. So likewise, even Shrenis guilds are also played a vital role, because these guilds are have important aspects where this will organize the trade and skill development and standardization of the goods. So different grading systems are different, hierarchical system are also gave much importance. Mostly the self-regulated business houses or business groups, by ensuring wages and dispute resolution and quality control, these are all essential in economic transactions. Normally the traders, they always expected supposed to follow higher ethical practices and maintaining international trade relations also, because the trade is most important aspect for balancing the world supplies chains. Therefore every time trade is also having those days also. That's why we were connected with the different countries like Rome, China, and Southeast Asian countries. So these are all some of the areas we connected through the land and sea routes. That's why the distribution and stability in the economy through the resources is also one of the important areas. Now, when we are also talk about the self-sufficiency, Swadeshi or import substitution and export promotion, uh, even at village levels also were highlighted, because decentralized villages economy are ensuring self-reliance. It means it is just like Atmanirbhar uh, type. So they are all producing their own food and for own textile products and goods, which are reducing dependency on external dependency or external markets. Normally, indigenous production at local level or by the local industries were also given a lot of importance during those days, ancient days. And the panchayat system was also prevalent. Different levels of panchayats were also prevalent in the ancient period. And the main important economic decisions making is also taken by the panchayat level. So different models which were provided for the development, minimizing the inequality and ensuring the food security of the society. So these efforts always helpful for the economic economy, which was ancient days as well as present days also. And sustainable agriculture practices are important because agriculture during those days also one of the main livelihood dependent sector. Even presently also it is having its own importance. So that's why agricultural practices were also sustainable practices, and it is harmonious also, nature friendly also. Organic farming techniques were also adapted during those days, and crop rotation knowledge was also there, and there natural fertilizers and were also widely used during those days. And water conservation methods like step wells, reservoirs, and uh, canal irrigation was prevalent for production of agriculture sector. Uh, Ayurveda practices some extent guided to maintain the fertility in their lands, agricultural lands, because a lot of organic manures were used from the leaves from the trees, and some other practices helped. Ultimately, these sustainable techniques are prevalent in the even modern ecological changes. Challenges were also faced by the different economies. When we talk about the banking and financial systems in ancient period, the well-developed banking system was also prevalent, with lending deposits and promissory notes. Most of the money lenders and temples were played a crucial role in the transactions of financial transactions, because so some of the areas where rural population require any kind of investments. So these are all well-defined instruments were also made available during those days. So interest rates were regulated to present exploitation, prevent exploitation, because interest rates were not exorbitant, because there is a uh, ruling party or rulers were also made on the different locations. Controlling aspects were also there. So that's why ethical financial management was emphasized, ensuring the economic stability. Normally, economic stability is important, but the financial resources are also maintained in the harmonious way. Uh, Arthashastra by Kautilya also talked about the taxation and revenue systems in Maurya and Gupta periods. So taxation is structured one, and it is based on whatever income they are gaining, as well as what kind of surplus they are maintaining. So agricultural taxation is one of the important major source of the income of the kings are in those days. So Mauryan Empire had well organized revenue system ensuring wealth distribution. Ultimately, societal harmony is also protected because of the uh, best practices in health, taxes, and the tax collection. So this tax collection main aim is to develop the infrastructure facilities and providing welfare to the people and effective administration. So Gupta period was referred as tax policies and support economic growth. The corruption and excessive
Hello, sir.
taxation were also. Hello.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, I actually have a little doubt in this topic. If
Pardon?
tralalero tralala and tung 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 sword were to fight, who would win?
Hello, I could not get your point, sir.
Uh, I'm interested. Whoever
Hello.
have doubts, there is a session, no question and answer session. Let's finish the talk, and then during the question and answer session, we can have the doubt clearing session.
Acha, you are asking a doubt. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Can I
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
continue?
Actually, yes, sir. Some of the participants have some queries, so they were asking some questions, but we are having a question and answer session after the lecture, so we can take the
Yes, yes.
questions then. Yes, sir. Now you can continue, sir.
Definitely, okay. Normally, according to Ardhashastra by Kautilya or Chandragupta, so what type of ancient and what type of agriculture practices were there, and what type of uh, tax collection systems are there? So these were all highlighted. So taxes are tax collections are aimed at to for providing infrastructure development, welfare, and administration, and these taxes reforms always vary from one season to another season or one region to another region based on the farmers who are farming how much yield is getting, because there are different classification of lands also. Fertility levels will also affect the production. That's why these tax reforms were also undertook in the Gupta's period. And when we talk about the trade and commerce in ancient India, there was a global trading took place, particularly dealing with the spices, textiles, metals, and gems. During those days, these commodities were having a lot of demand, and mostly these silk routes or Indian Ocean route were widely used. And they are also very much structured business ethics. They maintained very extensive networks for trading, and port cities are also flourished like anything because of the chief export channels. Sea routes were there, so trade was also ensured quality control and fair pricing. Fair pricing is important aspect, so that supply continuous supply chain will also ensure. When we talk about the ethical business practices in ancient India, uh, mostly the ethical principles are higher or are the highest, and the trust is guiding the ethical principles, because it is expected that honesty, fair wages, and protection of consumer rights are also given a lot of importance. Kautilya's Arthashastra also provided guidelines for ethical governance in business. So that's why the lot of standard and fundamental principles were also developed in the Kautilya's Arthashastra writings. And when we talk about the women in economic activities, women actively contributed in various economic activities like weaving in agricultural, different activities, pottery, trade, and other associated activities. Some women also having entrepreneurial skills as well as leadership skills also. And economic participation was respected and supported by the society, because women participation was also recognized in economic point of view. And there is a decline in traditional economic systems also because of the foreign invasion what took place, and the colonial rurals what they exploited like anything. Even British policies were also not in favor of the Indian industries, particularly it was led to the economic distress. The sometimes heavy taxation was also forced deindustrialization and self-reliant village communities. So trade in terms of distributed restrictions and global economic presence was also trying to show in the trade links, as well as exports and imports were also taking place. So decline was highlighted in the importance of self-sustaining and economic models. These models, particularly in a traditional economy, because of these reasons, it was uh, declined. So when we look at the summary points of part one, normally the economic wisdom particularly emphasized in wealth creation, self-reliance, as well as sustainability. These three are important wisdoms in economics, where always in even centuries also carry forward these areas. Economy was considered as a well-organized, inclusive, and globally connected, and ethical governance was given highest priority and ensured prosperity without any exploitative practices. And mostly the relevant aspects like principles, whatever challenges are taking place or we are facing may be some extent troubleshooted by these ancient principles also. So reviving the traditional knowledge can guide sustainable economic development, because most of the economies are working on the sustainable development or sustainable development goals nowadays. So these some of the clues, some of the areas where we can uh, give more emphasis for development of the sustainable development. And particularly sustainability as well as ethical business and social welfare. These are all important areas presently we are facing. uh, in these areas, some of the challenges are still prevalent, and perennially we are facing these issues. So ethical trade practices ensure long-term business success and trust also. And the Swadeshi slogan or Swadeshi practices are also leading to the Atmanirbhar or Atmanirbhar Bharat. So that's why these practices normally can be followed. And the relevance of economic ancient economic principles in today's global economy. Mostly we have to focus on sustainability, ethical and inclusive economic models. So wherever we are able to implement these models, some extent our economic wisdom will help us to promote uh, ethical practices, as well as we will be able to connect at globally for global partnerships. So the the concept of taxation and market global financial stabilities and historical models, all these are all helpful in the present day economy. And when we talk about the sustainable development and ancient Indian economic thought, so sustainability is always there since beginning, even since centuries ago. It is deeply embedded in ancient Indian economic thought practices. Agriculture practices particularly supposed to be promoted biodiversity, all types of environmental issues may be controlled. Soil conservation is also important, and water management also important, particularly in the agriculture sector. And resource management is important, and the community-based models are also successful during those days. And the distribution of wealth may take place through the proper resource distribution. Then only whatever sustainable development goals at present also some extent we will be fulfilling. So India integrate traditional and modern sustainability practices for long-term economic stability. That's why the sustainable development goals are also important in the lines of ancient practices some extent. And when we talk about the self-reliance like Atmanirbhar Bharat, so there are many aspects are helpful for the Atmanirbhar in the present condition also, because most of the micro, small, medium enterprises, rural development aspects, and local production and self-sufficiency, indigenous industries and their development, and entrepreneurship, how it will be helping to provide employment opportunities. Revival of Swadeshi principles drive to successful of the Atmanirbhar Bharat initiatives that present government of India is initiating. So it is some extent taxation system is also uh, very good, and moderately we have to be collected the revenue and for the public welfare and infrastructure facilities, particularly for protecting the people through the defense activities. So balanced tax system is also important, as well as it must be encouraged economic participation and compliance. Ethical business and corporate governance is also important, because always the business practices, if ethically taking place, and as well as some component of corporate social responsibility practices also help the society for reviving the best business principles, as well as it will create sustainable economic systems. And traditional banking and versus modern financial initiatives in ancient India, there were some organized financial system with lending, credit, and informal banking networks. So use of fundis or bills of exchanges and streamlined financial transactions. Modern financial inclusion initiatives such as microfinance, digital banking follow similar principles. That's why this by empowering rural and underprivileged communities through accessible and financial services is the important key. So ethical financial management can prevent economic crisis. Uh, the crisis may be some extent solved by the ethical practices. When we talk about the agriculture practices, particularly organic farming and Ayurveda role, the traditional ancient agriculture farming practices were all traditional in terms of organic practices, uh, by maintaining this soil fertility, uh, and water conservation techniques, uh, all all were helping to increase the food security in the country. When we talk about the cottage industries and the micro, small, and medium enterprises, when we uh, talk about in ancient days, there are some ancient guilds or srenis. They were responsible for organizing the all skilled labor as well as the trading aspects. Uh, they also helped to control fair wages and ethical business practices. Nowadays, also even present MSME sector will also uh, implement very standard and similar principles, contributing to significant to increase the employment as well as economic growth. And learning from past economic models can help policy making, particularly in the area of small scale industries. When we talk about the trade and commerce in digital era, learning when we learn from the ancient networks, uh, we had a lot of connections with the Europe, China, and the Middle East markets. So ancient trading systems were naturally ensured the quality, particularly ethical dealings and efficient logistics, because limited routes were there, the sea route as well as road routes, but the practices were very much qualitative and ethically also. And when we are learning historical trade networks that can help to create robust and transparent digital markets. Normally, ethical practices are all only sustainable in every area. Now, when we are coming to the women entrepreneurship and economic women empowerment, even in ancient India also, women played an important and active role in particularly uh, activities such as trade, handicrafts, and finance, and guilds and property, and contributing economic prosperity, business activities, all types of entrepreneurs. Presently, the microfinance sector is totally dominated by the women. That's why this earlier women practices and present women practices, best practices may be correlated, and that this blend will also be make some success in the present scenario. The Gurukula system, education, skill development, and Gurukula system in modern economy also, we have a lot of focus earlier in Gurukula system. But this holistic education, including economic governance and entrepreneurship, were the emphasis in the education or Gurukul system also. And learning was based on the practical skills, ethics, and real world applications. So this system was completely practical oriented and skill oriented. That's why the skill development programs, whatever intended, are integrated for the traditional knowledge that will help and enhance the some technologies or new technologies. So vocational training and the blending of ancient wisdom and modern education, those can help us to enhance our economic productivity. Ultimately, skills are most important, even whether ancient skills or even present latest modern ultra modern skills are also important for economic development. When we talk about the role of Indian knowledge system in global economic leadership, normally, whichever country is having ethical, sustainable, inclusive, these models always attract the global different nations. So that's why these issues may be spread throughout the uh, trade activities, even uh, having some impact on international different economies in the world. So that's why the rich knowledge system is also always contribute to the global policy making and sustainability in the finance, promoting traditional economic wisdom that can enhance India's soft power. That's why we can geopolitics will also be influenced by the best practices. So that's why this IKS principles always offer innovative solutions even today modern economic challenges. So there are some challenges when we talk about all these ancient and earlier historical practices, how these are all relevant, and how much or how many areas we can draw some of the uh, aspects to implement in the present condition. There are some challenges are identified. Normally, adapting ancient economic principles to modern day policies pose certain challenges like globalization, technology driven technology driven economies that normally requires a lot of modifications, because every 5 years, every 10 years existing policies are also modifying. If these are all very ancient, then there is a drastic modifications were required, and institutional support as well as policy frameworks are also needed for effective implementation of the programs. So these traditional practices may need restructuring to fit at the present conditions, and finding balance between tradition and modern innovations is the key for economic success. When we look at the way forward, ancient Indian economic wisdom remains highly relevant in the 21st century also, because the best practice are always useful even any time. And the concepts of self-sufficiency, ethical business, sustainable development offers solutions for modern problems of economy in different countries also. Reviving traditional economic models can promote balanced and inclusive growth, and integrating ancient principles with contemporary strategies can enhance economic resilience. So, learning from India's past can help certainly build a more equitable and prosperous future. So, ancient, whatever we are talking about, or so far, I just want to convey through this talk, is the development or economic wisdom, particularly identifying from the knowledge which were existed earlier, because 2500 years ago, even Kautilya Ardhashastra BC, uh, 300 to 400 400 to 300 BC practices. When we are talking about at present conditions, some aspects, irrigation, taxation, governance, sustainability, inclusiveness. So these are all always, even centuries ahead also, will be useful for a harmonious society or economic development. But some of them maybe how we have to be focused at rural areas or even for urban areas, what kind of government priority is there as per the present conditions or at global developments. So these things may be modified and may be effectively implemented. So with these words, I would like to stop my presentation, and it is open for the question and answers.
Okay, thank you, sir. It was really a very lucid yet very interesting and engrossing session, and it was very informative. Thank you so much. And now, I guess our participants have questions, so we can take the questions now. The participants are requested to upload their questions in the chat box only. So we have got a question from Gautamini Vikram Singh. The question is, sir, you mentioned the role of women. What are some sources that speak of this in frail, and what particular time period are we talking about?
Shall we wait for a few more questions?
Yeah, sure, sir, sure. If anyone has any other question, they can post it, and sir will answer.
Please send the attendance feedback. Okay. Okay. Hello. Shall I add reply?
Yes, sir, you can answer the question.
Okay. I'm going to answer. The question is, what are the some sources that speak of this in frail? Yes.
So the question is, you mentioned the role of women. What are some sources that speak of this in detail, and what particular time period we are talking about?
Yes. So this economics, most of the whatever what you call whatever text were written for economists, we have Kautilya's Ardhashastra is talking about some economic focused principles were given provided. Therefore, whatever we are talking about the Kautilya's Ardhashastra written long back, because before Christ 400 to 325 before Christ, it means now 2005, 2025, and again the 200, it means almost about 3000 years ago, whatever role, because all are human beings normally, male female comprising the society. So in the society agriculture practices, there is a role always there in the agriculture practices, because even any age, whatever any kingdom, so role of woman is always recognized, because whether it is properly remunerative remuneration is getting or not, it doesn't matter, but the role is always there with the, because uh, women participation particularly prevalent in agricultural operations, even non-agricultural operations like even selling or trading, even all types of handcrafts, these were all mentioned in the texts, even in Kautilya Ardhashastra also, in different subjects, because 15 books he wrote, and various varieties of subjects were covered, even in agriculture sector also. Agriculture activities are also he covered various minute things also. So how to do agriculture practices, how, what is the, who is the landowner, how to get the leased in the agricultural land from the king. So all these were mentioned clearly in different chapters. So that's why there are aspects, there are some agriculture practices executed by women. Even present day agriculture also, even women role is much higher, because they are contributing a lot for the development of the agriculture sector also.
Okay.
Hello.
Yeah, thank you, sir. We have got another two questions. Another question is, in terms of time period, in the lecture today, especially regarding agricultural practices, where we talking about 300 to 400 BC. All the information that was given was all of it taken from the Arthashastra itself.
Or this is itself. Even you can see Economic Sutra, it is also their book. It is reversely showing Economic Sutra. There are many texts are available. I just read out a few of them. Because every contemporary aspects. So, who role of king, role of merchants, role of ministers, and role of agricultural farmers, role of women. For every society, even Manusmriti also defined the different roles of the society and how the distribution of labor is taking place. So across the available literature in the ancient uh, wisdom or literature, we all find in role of women in agriculture. So this Vedas, Upanishads, Vedas means Sam Veda, Yajurveda Veda, Atharva Veda, Atharva Veda, Upanishads, epics, Mahabharata, Ramayana, Puranas, Vishnu Purana, Bhagavad Purana, Shiva Purana, Brahma Purana, like that, and Sutras and Smritis, and Dharma Sutras, Manusmritis. Likewise, there are Buddhist texts are also Tripitaka, like Jainist texts also, Agamas, Kalpa Sutra, Tattva Sutra, and scientific mathematical works are also Aryabhatta, and Tamil Sangam literature also Tirukul or Salipadakkam and Manimakalam. These are all some of the texts where different roles of women were also defined. Even Ardhashastra by Chanakya, Mudrakshara by Vaisharbhatta, and other Sanskrit literature like Gita Govinda and religious textbooks, devotional textbooks, Bhagavad Gita, Adi, Adi Grantha, Guru Grantha Sahib, and historical and other chronicles are also there. And many texts are mentioned in the Indian knowledge systems because these are all activities, how it took place, what was the village economy, what activities undertook by the king and kingdom economy, how it is taking place in rural areas, even urban areas. So even agriculture sector, how watershed and reservoirs are protected. So all these are all there in the written text.
Okay, sir. Okay. Okay, sir, another question. This is from Sakshi Vishwakarma. She has asked, she want to ask that here it is mentioned about the ancient times, but now things have changed and the generation is very fast forward. How is
Yes.
ancient time connected or related to the time now?
So the ethical practices are in during ancient period is also there, even present days are also there. Ethical business practices. Sustainability is also one of the important areas where whatever they are doing, those activities, those production, even spices trade, even metals, even other precious uh, items which are exporting to other nations. So quality and ethical practices in every movement or every activity, if it is not there, then it is very difficult because ethical practices even olden days, whichever years back, even present days also this can be applied. And sustainability is also applicable with sustainable development goals. It means whatever we are putting efforts, so these efforts for the development for inclusive growth, so these are all important. And it is just like immortal, always these are all there, and it will continue also. Sustainable development goal, inclusivity, as well as um, sustain what you call inequalities, redistribution of wealth, taxes. So even tax rates may be vary from one government to another government, but tax system is also there. How to redistribute the income from the government to the public or to the people. So these are all there from ancient days also there, present days are also there. But areas shifting priorities are different, because that's why we need to take some principles or some guidance from there. So if it is harmonious, our society is not getting any harmful, then the whatever practices are there, these practices may be utilized.
Okay, thank you, sir. Similar kind of question we have got from Diganda Das. How does ancient IKS economic ideas compare to modern economic theories? I think you have already answered this, sir. Then again, we have another question from Badamini Vikram Singh. Post-independence, Gandhi tried to implement the self-reliance and sustainability aspect of IKS as he outlined in Hind Swaras and Village Swaras. There are
Yes.
letters showing how Nehru was against these ideas of village communities. What failed? Why were not we able to implement IKS at that time? If it was done, then perhaps some change could actually have brought about. If it couldn't be done then, is there some actual hope now?
Actually, village development. So in 1952, after the initiative of the first 5-year plan, there was a program in 1952, community development program. So this community-based development program were around 18 subjects were included in that community development program. So it is aimed at for the village development only. So community development, whether it is rural village community development, even urban development also, but community people-centric development is always there, because our planners, even Gandhian economic thought also giving this kind of village industries, Gram Swaraj, people's uh, strength is always highlighted by the Gandhian economic philosophy. So these are all there. Even 1952, even rest of the followed by present, even what you call government programs, all types of programs, whether it is uh, agriculture sector based programs or industrial development sector based programs, or wherever programs are there, these programs are all meant for the village development only. Even microfinance activities are their initiatives are also mostly rural women presence was there in these activities. So village focused activities are taking place, but unfortunately, success rate is very limited, because most of the administrators who are involved in the implementation of these programs are not dedicatedly taking up, and ultimately outcomes are not that much impressive by the implementation of the different schemes aimed at to improve the village conditions.
Okay, thank you, sir. Then again, some participants has asked for, can you please suggest a few reference books for more in-depth study of IKS?
Yes, there are many, because because some of the texts are translated versions are there, as well as whatever even for economics background, this Kautilya Ardhashastra is important. 15 books are there, and for other subjects, ma- even Manusmriti is also there. This what you call a village, how people were classified according to their occupations. You know, so occupational based classification is also found from the what you call Smritis. Manusmriti is also there, and even Bhagavad Gita stories and Ramayana. So all some of the epics which are giving some ideas to learn the IQS.
Thank you, sir. I think there is no more question, so we can wind up the session here. And thank you very much, sir. We are
Thank you so
grateful
much.
to you for giving your valuable time to us and our participants. Thank you, sir.